Every game has player movement, whether that be janky platformer controls or a really fleshed out movement system that you can tell has had a lot of work put into it. Now, movement can also affect how people feel about the game itself. Like, for example, Super Mario Bros., the original, is obviously an iconic classic title for gaming, but gameplay-wise, it hasn't aged very well due to the very stiff controls. While on the other hand, Super Mario Odyssey has much more fluid, smooth, and just variety for controls in the 3D landscape. Now, we're going to go through some different games and asking the question of, how does movement affect the game? So let's dive straight into that in today's video. So, the first game we're going to be talking about here is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, a game all about hidden things and swords. Now, in this game, you play as Link, a swordsman who has been asleep for 100 years, and yet he did not age a singular day. And he has to go save a princess, almost like that's never been done before. But anyway, this game is a third-person open-world adventure game, which, when this game released, blew everything out of the water and led them to be making a sequel called Tears of the Kingdom, which is great and all, but how is the gameplay? Well, Breath of the Wild is a very combat-based game, allowing you to have different variety in the ways you can attack. For example, swords, bows and arrows, and of course, bombs. Now, this whole game isn't just combat, as when you're exploring Hyrule, there are many more ways you can move. You don't just have to run around like a crazy person. I mean, you see a tall cliff? You can just climb it. So what if there looks to be zero grip on the cliff? Link can just climb it. It doesn't matter. Now, I get it, this stuff isn't that impressive, but let's take a look at some speedrun tech that really will break this game. First, the BLSS, or the Bow Lift Smuggle Slide, shows Link smuggling a bomb, then flying while wiggling to generate speed, which simply just lets you go absolutely flying. And one other piece of tech is called the Wind Bomb, and this shows Link basically exploding himself, causing him to have a burst into the air. Very good for getting around quickly, but probably not great for your health. Now, yes, I know I didn't explain this tech too thoroughly, but I'm not a Breath of the Wild speedrunner, so yeah. So, to answer the question of how does movement affect the game, I would say it isn't too complex, which keeps me enjoying it, but I'm also not getting overwhelmed. As well as it is still smooth and doesn't feel broken or glitchy like some other games. Now, on to the next game. The next game on our list is Super Mario Odyssey, the most recent 3D Mario game that came out 8 years ago. Anyway, in this game, you play as Nintendo's icon, Mario, who's on a journey to save Princess Peach because Bowser wants to marry her. And Mario gets befriended by a Cap named Cappy from the Cap Kingdom. Now, if you're wondering why Odyssey is in the title, well, Cappy owns an airship called the Odyssey, so I'm not referring to the Odyssey from Greek mythology. Now, this game is a 3D platformer, so the movement is drastically different from Breath of the Wild's. Now, instead of the game just having simple movement like Super Mario 64, it instead combines cap throws into the mix. Yes, he can throw his hat, allowing for many more complex techniques, as well as bringing the ability to capture enemies, which each enemy has their own set of movement. And with over 50 different captures, you'll see a ton of different movement sets. Here's a few examples. The frog lets you jump high, makes sense. The T-Rex, letting you crash through rocks and destroy stuff. And finally, the sewer manhole. lets you slide a manhole. That's basically it. Now, those are just a few, but I think you understand the idea. So instead of having a bunch of power-ups, we have captures in this game. Now, this game, with all of its movement, has some pretty crazy jumps you can do. Like, for example, Snow Dram. A jump in Snow Kingdom where instead of finding the painting to get up there, you instead combine cap jumps and spins to make your way to the top early. Now, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, but how are the speedruns? Well, the Super Mario Odyssey any percent speedrun, which means beat the game with any percent, was 55 minutes and 59 seconds, set by Tyrone18. That's right, Mario Odyssey was beaten under a singular hour, which is mind-boggling as I can't even make it under 2 hours. Anyway, to answer the main question, I would say that Mario Odyssey's movement is one of the most refined movement sets in gaming, and just feels perfect to play. I mean, you know a game's movement is good if it has an action guide. So there you have it. Nintendo tried to beat that. What? DK, this is not your segment. Go back to your segment. You're not up till the end. We'll see him in a few seconds anyways. Anyway, time to head to the next game. And the final game on our list is, of course, Donkey Kong Bananza, a very recent Nintendo Switch 2 title, and the second ever 3D Donkey Kong game to ever come out since DK64. Now, of course, in this game you play as DK, and your main goal is to find bananas. Yep, that's basically all DK cares about in this game. You also befriend Pauline. Instead, she is a child, and she got encased in a rock by the Void Mining Company, which those guys are pretty pointless, so this game is also a 3D platformer, but it's not just Mario, as the whole game takes place underground. Even though it may look like sometimes you're in the sun, instead, the light is coming from rocks and stuff, I think. Now, along the way, you collect many bonanzas, which is why it's in the title, which basically transforms DK into different creatures and gives him different special abilities. There are a total of 5, so here. Kong Bonanza, letting DK have a powerful punch. Ostrich Bonanza, allowing DK to take flight and glide. Zebra Bonanza, allowing DK to run across fragile bridges. Elephant Bonanza, allowing DK to use his trunk to gather resources quickly and shoot them at enemies. Snake Bonanza, allowing DK to do high jumps and spring jumps and causing slow motion around him. Now, obviously these are limited time, so you can't just fly everywhere, but this game was created by the same group that made Super Mario Odyssey. So throughout you can see many similarities, like how the movement has a lot of variety and smoothness, allowing for some insane moves. Now, this jump isn't a real DK trick jump, but as you can see, you can make a lot of distance by combining rolls and rock jumps in this game. Now, compared to Odyssey, some say this game's movement is better, and I would agree with that. I mean, you have seen the speedruns, right? Don't worry, I'll talk about them. So, even though this game has only been out for a little bit, the speedrunning scene has been very active. Now, the world record for the DK Bananza any percent speedrun is 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 3 seconds, which was, of course, gotten by Tyrone18. Again. Jeez, dude, this guy is just good at both games, I guess. Now, to answer the final main question, I would again restate that I do believe this game's movement is smoother than Odyssey's, as it's just faster and more full. So to summarize, video game movement defines how a player feels about the game. If the movement were to suck, then you wouldn't enjoy it. But if the movement is smooth and fluid, you will want to continue playing. And even though I only talked about 3 different games today, there are many different movement styles, and expect these movement styles to adapt to the games. So, in the end, always remember that movement matters. What the heck are you doing?